So, I saw a video by Brittany Renner. Perhaps that was my first mistake. But I saw this video, and it kind of addressed a topic that has always bothered me quite a bit. Something that's just always kind of just thrown me for quite the loop. Not really so much. It's not like, I'm trying to find the best way to define this. It's not so much far as I understand the frustration these ladies feel. What I get thrown for a loop is like their hypocrisy. Like their cognitive dissonance is what drives my brain for a loop, which you'll understand as I describe the topic now. So I'm not actually gonna respond to all of Brittany's videos, 10 minutes long, and a lot of it's kind of a little all over the place. But I'm gonna more address the theme, and the theme is young ladies dealing with the fact that men have opinions on their past actions. So first, this was the Instagram message that Brittany received that inspired her to make her video.
I received a DM recently that I wanted to talk about, and it reads, how do you get a man to respect you even if you have a past? How do you do it? You're unapologetically you, and you're comfortable in your own skin. How do you get so much confidence and courage?
And so then Brittany more than really responds to the question, more pontificates upon her own experiences of dealing with her mistakes. One of the things that I kind of really can leave away from the video, one of the moral lessons, I guess you could call it, that sticks out the most to me in Brittany's video is her saying that she's glad that she experienced the things she experienced because now she has the wisdom, or what she calls the awareness of everything that had happened. Now, of course, I am a proponent of probably one of the crispiest lines of wisdom I've ever heard in my life, and that is, a wise man learns from his mistakes. A wiser man learns from the mistakes of others. I have absolutely no idea where I even heard that line from. I don't remember where I got it from, but what I do remember is that I always use that line because it is beautiful, okay? And the real grand point that I've always tried to make with that line, or even with my YouTube videos, especially when I talk about thoughty behaviors and even some of the bad dating decisions that younger males may do, is the fact that you don't ever really actually have to experience the worst of the worst kind of things to kind of recognize that they're not good. You don't really have to get blackout drunk to recognize it's probably not a good look. You probably don't really need to do it. You don't need to poison yourself. You don't need to get hit by a car. You don't need to get bitten by a rattlesnake for you to be all this is probably not a good thing to do. But for some reason, when it comes to sex and sexuality, people are I'm just gonna be a dickhead about this particular thing. I understand a rattlesnake bite will hurt me, but getting tossed around by a bunch of famous rappers who care not for my well-being, what? That hurts? Come on. It's kind of stuff like that kind of gets to me, you know what I'm saying? But the thing that really kind of gets me, that kind of peeves me off just a little bit. Again, it's not actually their frustration. I understand their frustration. It's more the cognitive dissonance and the hypocrisy. Don't worry, I will explain. It's the fact that women, more past thoughty women, don't like the fact that men have opinions on their past actions. And this is just kind of really strange to me, mostly because don't women have opinions on men's penis sizes? I'm gonna hit right below the belt on this one, right? Don't women have opinion on men's bank accounts? Don't women have opinion on men's faces, on their facial hair, the music they listen to? Don't women have opinions on men's pigmentation, their skin color? A lot of the hard-hitting stuff that women pick men for are things that are oftentimes totally are factors that are without our control, or are so high status and it just takes so much effort to obtain that you have to try a lot harder to obtain the thing that the woman wants to get her to acknowledge. So either what they want is hard to obtain, status, lots of money, or it's something you just can't do at all. Grow 6 inches. Now, I don't have this problem personally. I'm 6'1". I just more talk from, I've had lots of friends who were short, who had lots of struggles. I feel their pain. I know them, okay? The point is, it's interesting to me that women will like have these high standards of males, and we all know this. But for some reason, they then like they don't understand or see the folly in like men rejecting them based on their past. Like if you don't think that you can date someone because you're not attracted to them physically, don't you think that it would be reasonable that someone won't date you because they don't like all the actions that you did in the past? That might make them feel uncomfortable. They may not like it. Like if you're on this basic lizard like sorry, no attraction, can't date you type of mentality, how are you even upset that someone who's thinking a little more critically than that will reject you? Like that doesn't, I don't get that. Like I don't get, it's, now here's the thing. I understand why they don't want to be judged on their past for multiple different reasons. Because one, if you genuinely change as a person, and I want to be clear here, I'm not saying that no one can change. I'm not saying that you have to judge people in their past forever. You know, that's just not my opinion. You know, I made a whole video about alinity. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, that's not me. I'm not saying you gotta be stuck in your past forever. That's stupid. I'm not saying that you can never forgive people or you can never move past your past mistakes or your past acts. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you gotta be stuck being that person. But what I am saying is you're out of your mind if you don't think the things you did in your past are certainly gonna affect your present and they're gonna affect your future. I know a lot of people may not like Dr. Phil, but I love the guy. But Dr. Phil used to always say the best predictors of someone's future behaviors is their past behaviors. Now, why is that? Obviously, human beings are habit-forming creatures. We make habits. We do things repeatedly, and that's just how we are. That's how our brain functions, right? If you have a whole track record of doing something in the past, it's going to stand to reason that without any real degree of effort of trying to replace those bad habits with better habits, you're probably going to do the same thing. So if a woman's past of being a thought is you see that she does not pair bond with very many men and she bounces between them, why would you want to commit to someone like that? Like if you've seen them do that in the past, like it's just if being rational, like it's just, you know what I mean? It's just like being able to recognize patterns is what human beings have to do in order to be. That's just basic. That's just how we are. Like that's just the fundamental nature of being a fucking human. Like the fundamental nature of being a human is recognizing patterns. Your past is a pattern being recognized. So I'm going to reject you on that because I don't like the behaviors that you exhibited. Now, I think the woman's original query was like, how do you get like a dude to like accept your past? And what kind of really bothered me a lot was like Brittany's final verdict was this.
I often remind myself when these feelings of shame come up is that at one point in time, the person that was in front of me was exactly what I wanted. It was exactly what I wanted. So why the regret now? Why the regret now? If you want someone to respect and accept your past, you should accept and respect your past. You cannot expect anyone to do something that you don't even do. If any person has an issue with the life you once lived, has a problem with their own life and what they once did.
And this thing kind of really frustrates me quite a bit because it's really, well, Brittany takes a very arrogant disposition throughout the entire video. And that arrogant disposition is not recognizing that, or is not humbling herself enough to the recognition that like your past kind of is going to have an effect on how you treat people, and your experiences are going to have an effect on like how you view the world, and that will affect your relationship. Like let's just be crude about this one. If you have sex and you like the different positions you did with Sally, you're probably going to try them with Rachel. But if Rachel doesn't like those positions, then you've just reached an impasse with Rachel, and they have to talk to her and deal with her. Now, whether you come to a conclusion that is favorable for you and Rachel is one thing, but you can't deny the fact that your sexual experience with Sally is now affecting how you're dealing with Rachel. Like, just, you can't deny that. I mean, it's like denying that water quenches your thirst. Like, again, to be clear, I just want to be clear here. I'm not saying that a person has to be beholden to their past forever. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that like a woman's past for all of time, like she can never grow past being a promiscuous woman. But it is a boggle to my mind that like women that some of these women just don't grasp this concept, you know. like I said, like harkening back to just what I said earlier in the video, if you can dismiss people based on incredibly superficial criteria, you know, this criterion that is a clear reflection of your thought processes and your thoughts and feelings on male-female relationships, i.e. having sex with people based on their status or having relationships with people based on their status, is a reflection of how you're going to feel about the next person. Now, you could change. You know, I read Brittany Renner's book, so I know, you know, what her mental faculties were to some degree. Is she different now? Perhaps. I don't know. But like, I'm just saying to women, not even Brittany in general, like, you know, but just like for women in general. Again, if you have an established pattern, excuse me, recognizing those patterns and coming to conclusions based on them is just something that you just do as a normal human being. And to pretend that like your past relationships don't have any effect on your future ones or your current one is ridiculous. It's the most silliest thing I've ever heard in my whole life. Again, I'm not saying that you can never be forgiven. I'm not saying that you can never change as a person. But this idea that like your past, and I've seen so many girls say this on social media all the time, that like the past shouldn't matter. What the heck are you talking about? If the past shouldn't matter, neither should the amount of money I make then. If you're a woman and you have a job and you make your own money, then why do I need to make as much money as you do? If you're already independent and self-sufficient, why do I need to take care of you? If you're a woman and you have that standard for males, again, I must ask, where is the confusion in males having the standard that maybe you should be able to pair bond with them and be loyal and not feel the need to jump between different males, right? Because again, you got to notice the track record here. If you're able to bounce between multiple males and multiple relationships easily and quickly, what does that say about our relationship between each other? How would I know that there's any weight between you and I? You know, we can invoke the law of diminishing marginal value, right? The more of something you accrue, the less value that it has, right? The more male partners that you've had over time, you're going to expect me to believe that after male partner number 35, number 36 is going to be the ultimate special dude that you love of all time? Who knows? Maybe it is. Maybe all those 35 past partners meant nothing. And if that be the case, why did you do all that then? Why did you have to go through 35 multiple different partners to get to number 36 to finally be done with them? The long and short of it is, there's clearly some issue here. If you have to bounce between 35 different guys before you get to 36 and stay with them, it's like, well, what was happening? Again, if you can see clear as day that you can't date someone because of whatever superficial standard that you have, whatever criterion you have, if you're going to, and I've seen them, they defend this to their dying breath. Fine, that's okay. If you're, I can't date someone unless, you know, they're an attractive male. Fine, they're tall. Fine, they have status. Fine. If we accept that those are the cards being dealt for males, then as women, as past hoes, I don't get where the confusion comes from. I don't understand like why your brain cannot put two and two together. Again, this is just basic human function. Like that's just what we do as human beings. We recognize patterns, we process information, we come to conclusions about them. That's what we do. And I would say like to answer the question that was actually posed to Brittany, the question is like, how do you get a dude to like come to terms with like your past or like accept your past? Well, I would say number one, you have to accept it. That's first and foremost. And then after you accept it, then you have to show him that you have a different character, that you're a different person than what you were previously established. But the very last thing you do is you pretend that you weren't that person, because then that's really going to make the person, that's really going to confuse the person, or if, when it comes up, or if it ever comes up, it's really going to think the person is going to, think less of you, because now they're like, well, I've thought you were one way, but you were really the other. You got to find someone that's going to accept you and allow you to change and be different. That's the advice that I would give her. But first, you have to recognize it. I think the thing that really kind of gets me the most, well, there's lots of things that get me. And I'll probably have to make a follow-up video to this one because I've seen girls do this a lot. But one thing that kind of really gets me is like the arrogance that Brittany makes, where she just can't accept that maybe she probably shouldn't have done what she did. Like she kind of like bulldozes her way through all of this stuff and saying, well, if I hadn't done it, I wouldn't have had the awareness. And it's like, that's not true. I think there's multiple different texts you could find anywhere and everywhere. You have all these old people you could have talked to. You have the Holy Bible. You know, this whole chastity thing isn't a revolutionary concept that you just recognize at the end of 2020 after you had a bunch of bad relationships. This is common knowledge. Come on, fam. A virtue of like virginity and like waiting and having good relationships with males and females. Again, this isn't ancient wisdom. You know, sealed away in an ancient pyramid guarded by a jackal and a sphinx. You know what I'm saying? Like you knew this stuff going in. You just didn't care. And if you didn't care, that's your prerogative to not care. But it's ridiculous to pretend that you couldn't have gained the wisdom and knowledge that dating rappers that don't care about you isn't good for your mental health. Come on. It just wasn't in your radar at that moment in time because you were focused more on the trade-off of what you were getting in return. That's what that is. And you should accept that. But pretending that like you didn't make them, like pretending that like there was no other way to obtain this knowledge but to go through this and you have no regrets is silly to me. Like I think the hallmark, in my humble opinion, the hallmark of showing like growth from your past actions, I would honestly say is regret. Most people are always like, live life with no regrets. And I think that's the dumbest shit in the world. Well, one among some of the dumbest things to say in the world. Because if you have no regrets, that means you never changed as a person. You're gonna go through life the same exact way with the same exact wisdom. Either you had a fantastic, beautiful, or amazing life, or you're an arrogant twerp who can't recognize that you made mistakes and that you've hurt people and that you could have done things differently. Having a regret means that you wish you could do something better. You could do something different. That shows you're changing as a person. You're growing as a person. You want to be a better human being so you don't do the same things you did in the past. That's perfectly fine. It's okay to have regrets. It's okay to want to be better. What's important is to forgive yourself and work towards trying to be that better person. That's what you have to do. You have to try. You have to do something. You can't just like throw everything out of the window. Just be, well, I did it, and if anyone doesn't accept me for me, then the problem is you, not me. Like there's this line that she said, like here.
You want someone to respect and accept your past, you should accept and respect your past. You cannot expect anyone to do something that you don't even do. If any person has an issue with the life you once lived, has a problem with their own life.
I'm like, okay, fine. Maybe that's entirely true. Maybe that's the case, that the dude has some insecurities within himself that is being reflected in your past actions that he doesn't like. My question is, why are you weaponizing his insecurities so you feel better about yourself? That's going to have to be the topic of the next video, number one. But number two, it's not even necessarily the case that the person like doesn't like your past because they're ashamed of themselves. I mean, or they have some insecurity. I mean, maybe that can be the case, but it doesn't necessarily follow suit that be the case. My point being, you can't throw off all the things you could have done differently onto another person and pretend that you don't have any problems or flaws. That's not how it works. Those were your actions. You chose to do them. They weren't things that were just bestowed upon you by virtue of your existence or by the creator, of the universe. Those are things you decided to do. So you're being judged on your actions. That is the fairest criticism you can ever receive as a human being. And for these women, for these past hoes to try to jerk this off like it isn't the most fair criticism of all time, you chose to do something, you did it, and you're getting not the color of your skin, not your height, not your muscle mass, not your hormones, not your sex, nothing, your actions. And you're gonna sit, That's the most fair thing. All the whole world talks about being marginalized, about being homosexual. The whole world talks about being of your race and racism and all that, things you can't control. But you're gonna sit here and pretend that the very things you can control, your actions, don't have an effect on who you are as a person, but all those other elements do and all those other factors do, and you're gonna dismiss and pick people who to date and not date. But it's not fair if males don't like that from you as a woman. Come on, dude. Like, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? That don't even sound like it makes sense. And to me, it's just, it's too arrogant, man. It's too up your own butt for you to say, I'm going to do the same exact thing, the same way, and it's okay I did it, and I accept it, and I'm fine. No, you shouldn't be fine with that. Because they were bad actions that hurt you and possibly hurt other people. You should say, you know what? I messed up. I should have done something differently. I didn't have the wisdom then, but I have it now. And I'm going to heed that wisdom now and be a better person. That's what the moral of the story should be. The moral of the story shouldn't be, girl, your past is fine. It doesn't define you. You're okay. If he's bothered by it, that's his insecurity. No, nigga. The moral of the story is, you messed up. You didn't do the right thing. You might suck as a person, but you can be better. And you should try to be better. And you should find someone that's going to accept you trying to be better instead of someone that's going to besmirch you for your past. That should be the moral of the story. That's not what Brittany gave out, and it kind of bothers me. So that being said, I just hope you guys got something out of today's video, and if you did, man, you know, go and click the like button. And shoot, go and click that subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below, and as always, you guys have yourselves a great day. I'll see you cool cats soon. Adios.